Hello, and welcome to the Alamos Nerd Moment. My name is Aaron Spears.
And I'm Brad Hathcock, and you sound like you're talking in a telephone booth.
I am, in fact, yes.
For you kids out there, there used to be these glass booths where it had a payphone in it that no longer exist. At least not many places here.
If they do, I haven't seen them in a long time. Do I sound any
They
better?
probably exist in like flyover states.
Do I sound any better, Brian?
Of course you do. You sound perfect to me, sir.
Yeah, the telebooth thing was. I actually stepped into one within the last month. There was this. The place that I worked, they had an old one from like the 50s. It was made of wood, and you would go in there and make your little private phone call with the door closed. And I was like, wow, that's kind of neat.
I always wondered about stepping into a telephone booth because you might end up like, transporting through time and giving like a history report at your
And
high school.
or
So,
the Colin Farrell movie that came out called Phone Booth, I think, where he is basically like under the. I think he's being sniped at, and he's like stuck in the phone booth. This movie came out, and I think the release was delayed because it was coming out at the time that it was either 9/11 or it was that Washington D.C. sniper with the father son, and so they pulled the release.
it's funny because there was actually another movie that was almost exactly the same thing, but with like Kiefer Sutherland, I think it was, um, who was a sniper. Do you remember? I guess it was like the chick from the first Men in Black movie that played like the doctor.
Oh,
I think she was in it, and she was handcuffed to, I don't know, like a mailbox or something. And she was like on a cell phone doing the same exact thing. It was something Liberty. I remember the name of it.
huh.
But they were, I think they came out almost exactly around the same time, and they were almost mirror images of each other.
Yeah, you would get that occasionally. The most famous example would be like Armageddon and Deep Impact, where like two studios had two completely different movies, but they were the same thing, and somehow
Or
they came out at the same time.
Dante's Peak and Volcano.
Right, another good example. I don't think either of those are actually Dante's Peak's probably fine. Volcano is incredibly bad.
I, but see, that's the same thing with like Armageddon and Deep Impact, right? Like Armageddon's fine. Deep Impact is low key dog shit. But also, if you're
Uh,
a fan like us, Deep Impact is great for how
I
bad it is.
I don't hate either of those movies, but Armageddon is just very. I still can't get over the Gatling gun in space thing. Like, oh, we brought the Gatling gun. It's an incredibly dumb movie.
I mean, I guess this year, they have Mortal Kombat 2 came out, and then Street Fighter's coming out, and they're different IPs, but like they're kind of similar in nature, I guess, as far as like the actual movie goes. It's going to be about fighting. You're taking a fighting game and turning it into a movie, and so I don't know. We don't see the same level that we did with Deep Impact and Armageddon and Phone Booth, and I think it was Chasing Liberty or something it was called. You don't typically get that now where they're almost mirror images of each other. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, for a number of reasons, I guess, but it's kind of. I think it's funny when movies would, uh, because of the current climate, they would be like, "Well, we can't. That movie can never come out now." Like I recall Spider-Man 2 or Spider-Man, the very famous like the World Trade Center is in the background and he's got them webbed up in the middle, and
Oh yeah, I forgot
and that
about
was like
that.
yeah, it was like the year that movie came out, and they were like, oh, because I
We have to
think there
take that
was
out.
yeah there was like a whole like scene with the World Trade Center. I think that I don't know if anybody's ever seen what that was gonna be, but I think it was in the original trailer actually.
Oh, there has to be video of that somewhere.
I
I
think it probably is
locked
on
in a
YouTube.
vault.
The yeah, because I think it was the teaser for the movie. They're like Spider Man's coming out, and he like webs them up in that kind of neat.
Is that the first Spider-Man or
Yeah,
Spider-Man 2?
Spider Man.
That was first Spider-Man. Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, that's a that's a pretty good pull right there. 'Cause I forgot about that they did that. That's pretty funny.
It is. Because that movie did come out, I think, in what 2001, probably. So I
Yeah,
don't
that
know.
makes sense.
That was a weird time.
And here we are now.
In more weird
Muslim Mayor
times,
Mamdani in New York City.
if you told those people that day that that would be the eventual outcome, I don't know how they would take it.
I think if you told anybody that for at least a decade after 9/11 that that was going to be an outcome, they probably wouldn't have. It's like, just remember how people were like super united in America after that. And like the one set of people that like everyone hated was Muslims at that time.
I don't even think that was the case. Like, I don't think there was hate, like outright hate towards them. It was more like isolated incidents. It was more like we don't blame
Sure.
anybody, like any one group for this happening, but we will go after these motherfuckers, and they're thus set the stage for whatever it is we're living through right now, I guess.
What are we living through, Aaron? Tell me.
Uh, well, I guess the Strait of Hormuz is still closed, and Iran is hanging on for dear life, and I don't think there's like really much of a way out at this point. I don't know.
Well, it doesn't seem like it. It sounds to me like there's supposed to be a peace deal, and then Trump is like, well, they have 24 hours to agree to said peace deal, or the bombing's going to start again. It seems like he's kind of has like toothless threats going on to Iran right now because they've proven themselves pretty adept at surviving. Probably the fact that they've known this has been coming since the U.S. helped overthrow the Shah in the first place, or install the Shah in Iran. So they've like they the interesting thing is that they keep all of their shit underground so that it's still intact. Like a lot of their planes, a lot of their missiles, all that stuff, they keep it deep underground, and we haven't found a way to like really penetrate that shit. So they're not in a rush to make things better. I My question is like, how did we allow the Strait of Hormuz to be closed ever? Like, you would have thought that we just would have destroyed their entire navy. Like, you can't hide that underground, right? Like, so you would think that just to open the Strait of Hormuz that they would just obliterate Iran's navy, and that hasn't happened for who knows what reason, really.
Well, then the Navy is uh, under the intent of what they wanted to do gone. The problem is if you transit ships through the strait, you could just get guys on the beach like shooting rockets at you, um, or just even just peppering you with bullets. I have a theory I will propose to you now. I think that this is all a delayed tactic in order to give the other Gulf nations time to prepare for their own strikes, Saudi Arabia specifically, um, because we really did kind of run through our stockpiles over the course of those 2 weeks or whatever. And I think that you pause it, and then you give everybody time to kind of lick their wounds or whatever, and then resupply and go again. And they may go again in the next 24 hours. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's
Do you
possible.
think? Yeah.
I think that's possible. I think it's a weird situation in which now the Gulf states are kind of backed into a corner where they don't have a choice. Um, Whereas that probably wasn't the case if we didn't start bombing Iran in the first place. Like, I feel like it just would have kind of been status quo for the most part. We went through and had total annihilation, quote unquote, of their nuclear sites and things like that, which who knows if that's actually true. Um, and then Israel comes in and says, well, we're going to start bombing. And like, I think Marco Rubio said it, well, they were going to start bombing no matter what. So in order to help like stem the tide of casualties, we have to get people out of our bases and join in on the bombing campaign. There's a strategic element to it, I'm sure. And yeah, I would wonder if they would be interested in starting to do that. My question would be, do they make their own missiles and munitions, or do they buy them from the US? Because if our stockpile is already depleted, where are they going to get their stockpile from? And it definitely seems like our stockpiles are running pretty thin. And like now, low key, Germany has become the preeminent ammunitions manufacturer, I think, in the world. I think they actually just surpassed the United States in ammunition supply. So that's interesting to see. So like, who's gonna be pumping all these missiles to these Gulf states? If we're already hurting for it, then who's gonna be supplying them?
It could be the Gulf states already had stockpiles. I don't know. Maybe
Because
they've been
interestingly
preparing for
enough,
years.
there's really only like a handful of countries that actually build and sell munitions basically to the rest of the world, and it's like the U.S., it's Russia, I guess
China.
I guess China, um, and then Germany obviously does ammunition, but they're not out here probably building fucking missiles and like all this other shit. Who knows? Um, but it's funny because what did I see? Um, the automotive industry in Germany is laying off so many people, and that the actual ammunitions manufacturers can absorb about a third of those laid off from automotive industry. So they're definitely ramping up. And I guess the sentiment in Germany has changed because they didn't want to be a munitions like factory since World War II, and like they kind of looked down on doing that because of World War II, and now they're like, well, someone has to do it, especially for the EU. So they've stepped it up.
Yeah, it's Germany is so interesting in this regard, like as an economy, because they do kind of have the capability to do something like that, whereas I think the UK is so far gone. They've fallen so far, and France is France, but really it's the UK here that's been like the most shameless sort of. I mean, Keir Starmer sucks, dude. He really does, and that their planning and policy and their economy is it's just embarrassing.
He has survivability, it seems, though. Um,
Yeah, perhaps.
because I don't know, he seems to kind of come out on the other side a little bit, pretty easily, in the UK, but they're not really doing anything. Europe is definitely starting to pay their fair share, I guess you would, for um, NATO's purposes and stuff like that. But it's just interesting to see where all of this goes, because obviously we're alienating allies and things like that with this. Um, but that was kind of part of Trump's point, was that they don't do enough, and now they are doing more. Like, I don't know, because the questions about can we use this airbase have kind of all stopped, because everything's in such a standstill right now, where it's just like everyone's floating around the Strait of Hormuz waiting for the next shoe to drop.
I mean,
Meanwhile,
Iran didn't affect our relationships necessarily, but the
oh,
person
it
in
did.
charge
It,
definitely
it
did.
did, because we wanted to use the bases that we essentially fucking paid for in these other countries, and they were all like, no, you can't do that. So that does affect our relationships,
Yeah, but every
because
other president would have been okay with that. Like they would have said yes to like any other president. It's this specific president they want.
right. So that affects the relationship, because that means it does matter who's president that you're going to like obviously take sides on, and not the country as a whole, right? So I don't get me wrong, I know that Trump alienated them and still does with this whole tariff thing, and he still threatens tariffs, even though the Supreme Court was like, yeah, fuck you, you can't really do the tariff thing. Um, you know, and he just continues to like press people, but honestly, the whole Iran thing now just it's at such a standstill that it hasn't even mattered anymore. Like, I was shocked to see gas prices going down, even though the strait's still closed. And I wonder how much that has to do with, I think Saudi Arabia left OPEC.
I think Saudi Arabia would be thrilled to leave OPEC. I think that they just were waiting for like a Casus Belli moment to do that. They're probably like, yeah, I bet you everybody wants to leave OPEC.
No,
Actually,
they did leave OPEC.
yeah, they did. And
Was it
I'm
Saudi
sure,
Arabia? One
yeah,
of the, because it's like five countries or something that make up
it could
the
be
Arab
UAE,
countries.
but
That
either
one
way,
of
like
them left. A big player
I
in
think they all
OPEC
want
left.
to. This is like the perfect time for them to do that. This is the perfect time for them to all go like, we're all leaving OPEC. Just
Oh
cut it.
yeah, they. I mean, they. Why is it that somebody else gets to control, like OPEC essentially gets to control how much oil they put in and out of the economy, essentially?
Yeah,
Like, so now they're like, fuck OPEC. Like, this is what happens when you add layers of bureaucracy, and now these Gulf states can go and start collecting, I mean, money hand over fist. Not that they already weren't, but that they can go ahead and do that. And, like, they can set the supply and control it and everything else, which I think is also hilarious because the U.S. has, like, such huge oil reserves, allegedly, that, like, it shouldn't, like, global oil prices shouldn't necessarily affect the US, but it does because we still import so much of it, even though just so that we don't touch our reserves, which is kind of really weird. So it's like we'll use the oil from everywhere else but our own, so that when oil runs out, we're the only ones with it at the end of the day. That's what, that's the 100-year plan that fucking the US has.
it's pretty complicated, right? Like oil and refining oil to make jet fuel, to make regular diesel, gasoline. These are really complicated things, and we are a country that can. We can't just if gas prices go up, they go up, and then you don't just go like, well, we have all the oil, so therefore problem is solved. It's not really how it works, right? So, and every state's got these, various different things that would cause the oil to go up or the price of gas to go up. So, it is interesting that we can import so much and we choose not to, and maybe that there's a reason for that. I don't know, but
Well, I mean, just right there in your state of California, you have a governor's race where everyone is using the high cost of gas as like a talking point. Like, it's Trump. Trump is the reason why gas is so high. Not like you haven't had like the highest gas prices and gas taxes in the entire fucking country for 20, 30 years. Like, it has nothing to do with all of your policy that drives up those fucking prices. It's just Trump, right? So,
it is the most infuriating argument I hear by people who are on the left in California because they do just go like, we wouldn't have had high gas prices if it wasn't for this guy. And I'm like, dude, we've been like closing down refineries and importing oil for a long time. Plus, we have these summer months coming up where we have this summer blend. I'm sure we've talked about it every year on this podcast, so like this year's no different. But it increases the price of the gas because it's a blend that supposedly burns cleaner during the summer. And it all goes back to the 70s where California was a smog disaster. I mean, the air here was terrible, and it is better now, but it still doesn't mean you could be a politician and go like, "Oh, the president caused the gas prices in California to be sky high," and it's just not that. It's different for us.
do you think that there is a chance for a politician to come in and win an election without mentioning Trump ever?
If it's going to happen, it's going to be here. I
You
mean, but
think?
I
You
for
do?
the
You think?
I say for
I
the
I,
in
I say
regards to the
no, not in
Republican,
California.
like because I think Steve Hilton is doing quite well. Today's Tuesday, obviously, so primary day here. I think.
Same here in
Um,
Pennsylvania.
yeah, Steve Hilton is the Republican, and I I would bet he doesn't bring him up very much. Now, you're talking about the left, and yes, they do bring him up all the time, and they will for the rest of our lives. But I don't know. I mean, Steve Hilton, they're they're freaking out in Sacramento right now because we might have two Republicans on the ballot.
I know, I hope so. But when you run pieces of shit out there like Katie Porter, I mean, what do you expect?
I
And
showed you a picture of my ballot, dude. There's 50 names on there. I'm not
she
even
was
exaggerating.
she was supposedly gaining ground too, which is sad.
Well, they
I
consolidated after Swalwell. It is sad. All of it's sad. Steve Hilton isn't. I only know him from television, really. So, like, I don't even know much about his own policies, but you could be anybody here. And, I know we talked about it last time we recorded, but, Spencer Pratt is making a pretty strong case to Los Angeles. So,
Well, more and more it seems like the left are lunatics. Like Katie Porter is like one of her big things that she's been doing in like her ad campaigns, and she even said it in like their debate was she goes, "I push a shopping cart." Okay. Like who fucking doesn't?
very
Like
relatable. Yeah. It's like, no, you don't,
maybe Tom
actually.
Steyer isn't pushing a fucking shopping cart, but like I don't know, someone is. But like she goes, "I fill up my minivan with gas." Okay? That how does that make you qualified to be governor? Tell me that.
I don't
I
know who it works
also
on.
fill up my car with gas and I push a shopping cart. Maybe I could be governor of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I don't know who buys that shit. Somebody does, I guess, but
I
we
mean,
will.
she's the leading Democrat right now, isn't she?
I don't know who the leading Democrat is right now. You know why? Because there's 50 fucking people on the ballot. I don't know. I haven't
But
seen any of the
but that's
polling.
true. That's true. That's been the knock is that there's so many people. And I think that actually came out in like a poll or something like that where they were like, I, I don't know who to put my vote behind because there's just too many of them. And Katie Porter once said in an interview, um, do you think you could defeat other Democrats on the ballot? And she goes, well, if I'm running for governor, that's not going to happen. That there wouldn't be other Democrats on the ballot. Well, you were wrong. So here you are. And, you're going to have to try to win a governor race, like, in such a huge field. Like, it's not going to happen. But how do you even have so many fucking people on the ballot? Like, don't they have to collect uh signatures and shit like that to get on the ballot? How many do they have to fucking collect in California? Five?
I haven't a clue. I don't know what the threshold is for running in California as governor. We've never had this many before, so this is new to me.
So
Usually
just
it's two.
anyone can run, it seems.
I'm going to write myself in. Yes. We should, by the way, just mention that this isn't the only place that's got interesting politics going on because the Democrats have decided Graham Plattner in Maine is their guy, which I think is really funny.
He was a former Nazi, right?
He's got the Totenkopf tattoo on his chest. He, but he got it in when he was in the military, and then he has since like tattooed over it. But I mean, the guy says all kinds of really nasty shit, and I mean, he may as well be for all intents.
But weren't Democrats also complaining about tattoos of who was it? Oh, Pete Hegseth. That's right. Weren't
Uh,
they complaining about his military tattoos and calling him a Nazi?
yeah, for his like Christian whatever symbol. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
bad, but it's actually okay if you have the concentration camp emblem on your fucking chest. That's okay. They did
Oh,
great.
Democrats.
You know, Susan Collins is 150 years old, and she is always kind of like she always kind of surprises, but this may be a huge favor for her. Honestly, like the only way they couldn't have picked a worse person because all she has to do is go. This guy's got a Nazi tattoo. Oh, he's got an
Yeah, but they
actual
don't.
thing. They call everybody that. They call everybody that, and he's the
Well,
one who's got it.
right. That's that's the thing is like if you don't like somebody, you call them a Nazi. It's easy. It's what they do. It's just
Yeah.
like in the right, you can just label anyone a communist. I mean, most of the time they are communists, but like people have said that about Mamdani, that like even Bill Maher calls him a communist. And I think David Cross was like, "Oh, he's not a communist," and he goes, "Well, he definitely employs them." And then he goes in about his who was that?
Housing,
His
whatever.
housing, yeah, his housing director had to deleted like what 6,000 some tweets that were all communist driven tweets or some shit like that.
I think Bill Maher's podcast has been really eye opening because I think for so long people on the left have never had to like answer questions about their ideology, and Bill Maher is of the left. He gets these celebrities in the room, and then he's like, "Do you actually believe this crazy shit?" And they're like, "Wait, I don't even know what you're talking about," or a version of that. It's very helpful, very useful.
Yeah, the only thing I would say about that is I think that the left has largely given up on him to the point where now people think you're right wing if you listen to Bill Maher.
I
It's
think that's
like
hilarious.
it was been a liberal his entire life, and they're now like abandoning him because it's like he's actually questioning their agenda, and if you say a bad thing about them, they'll eat you alive. That's what they do. I mean, it's always like that. They are perfect at just eating their own.
The thing he
Like,
has is he's funny and
well, yeah,
consistent, and
he is
so
funny.
and
But he
people.
wasn't. He wasn't. Remember the first fucking Trump term? Like, he admits that it broke his brain and that
Yeah,
he was a completely different person. And I stopped watching Bill Maher because it was just Trump, 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 crying about it. Like, same jokes. Other than him doing the jokes about like him jerking off two guys at one time, like which was never not funny. Like it just he wasn't that funny anymore. And then this time he's like, I'm not letting that happen. Like I'm not gonna let Trump break my brain. And he does. He looks because he even goes on there and says, "Oh well, like there are things I like that Trump is doing, and then there are things that I find abhorrent and he shouldn't be doing." And that's the right thing. Like that's you objectively looking at something and determining whether or not it's good or bad for the country. And as with any president, you'll get things that are good and bad for the country. Um, like
it's a really hard
everyone,
thing to do.
absolutely, everyone. It makes me sick. Points to Obama as being like, oh, he was probably the greatest president of all time. He fucking killed so many kids overseas with drone strikes and missiles. Like, and then Trump goes to like bomb Iran, which Kamala Harris said is the number one threat to the United States. And now she's changed her tune on that. Like, and they just point to him for all these like positive things that really weren't true. And he deported more people than Trump has. Like, there's all this shit that people just like to forget about, and it makes no fucking sense to me. It's like all the fucking propaganda you see out there right now that like Mom Donnie's putting out there, like, oh, I balanced the budget, and people are putting that shit out into the world, and that's not true. He didn't do it. He got a bailout from fucking Albany to the tune of $7.6 billion, and that's over half of your deficit that you were seeing right there. He deferred pension payments for years, so he's kicking the can down the road there. He has cut services. Like all this shit it's all fake, and all because he makes a stupid fucking video of, oh, I told you we were gonna tax the rich. Like he's a fucking moron. So moron Zamdani, it's just like I don't know.
You sound agitated by that
Propaganda is
man.
real.
Yeah. Well, I go on Reddit and I kind of lurk around and see what's the what's going on out there, and people really do just they do buy it. They If you go out there and you're the one person who says like it was a bailout, you'll have you'll get dogpile, which it's not even worth it. You're not going to convince anybody of anything. But same thing with Virginia. They redistrict it, and then this is the biggest story. I mean, this redistricting thing, by the way, just drives me fucking nuts. Like, I don't think anybody should be doing it. But in Virginia, the Supreme Court overruled it and said, like, no, like we told you before, you can't do this, and
Their
you're still
own
trying to do
Supreme
it.
Court, okay? It's not like it was Trump appointed Supreme Court. Their own Supreme Court overruled it.
And it should have been overruled, but here's the thing, right? Like the way they spin this out is like it's like a Reagan appointee, which I think is true, but also weird. And then also you have like AOC going out there and saying like we are going to we're going to make this the biggest fight you could possibly have. And I really wish Texas wouldn't have done this to begin with, because all it did was cause undue chaos across the country. Is like Florida's going to get into it, California got into it, and they did it at the perfect time because there was so much backlash against this administration that they were able to like get that through, despite me voting no on it. Like, I think gerrymandering in the middle of the decade is wrong, and that's not how my constitution's written here in California. So it just caused all this chaos, and it's going to continue, and it just gives them more excuses to, I don't know, man, use rhetoric that is violent, to say the least.
Well, it's also like if you listen to people like Gavin Newsom with his stupid hand fisting shit, like he is like, oh, we need a return to normalcy. Well, how is it normal if you're gonna just go ahead and fucking gerrymander your state, like in reaction to other people gerrymandering their state? Like you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. Like you can't say that we need to return to normalcy and then abnormally fucking change, go against your state constitution and gerrymander your own state. Like again, like we talked about this, like consistency versus hypocrisy. Like I want consistent messaging. Like if you're like we can't you shouldn't gerrymander, then don't fucking gerrymander your own state. Like be above it, right? But they're not. Like it wasn't it fucking Michelle Obama or something that was like when they go low we go high, and then like but
And
you're
after
not.
that, they went low.
You're not. Like everyone's just a race. It's a fucking race to the bottom in terms of like ethics and morals, and it's
Every
not
time we
getting
record,
better.
that's what it is. I mean, every time we record, it's like I have these people, and I see them, and they're like, democracy is on the ballot. Democracy is the most important thing ever. And then a month later, we're back to eliminate the electoral college. We're back to stack the Supreme Court. We're back to all this
Yep.
shit again. They keep going back there. And I mean, really, for me, my sort of red line is the Supreme Court. Like, do not touch the Supreme Court, because I think if you do, you will actually trigger the you'll break the Constitution. That's my biggest fear about all this, is they will maybe win that fight someday. Not
I
today,
think
but
I think Mari Povich, of all people, has a podcast, and I forget who
okay,
he.
Brad.
I didn't listen to the podcast. I saw a video about this, and
Sure.
I forget who he was talking to about this, but he actually they were talking about the Supreme Court, and he was like, "Well, don't you think that that's like a detriment to democracy to expand the court?" And he goes, what if you're telling me like if Democrats get the House back and Alito decides to retire, that so Trump could get another appointee, you're actually gonna vote an appointee in? And he goes, and she said something. He goes, no, you're not. We know that you're not, and like straight up called her out that like you absolutely will not vote in another Trump appointee to the Supreme Court if that's a possibility. Like fucking Mari Povich knows it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the truth. They want to win the House so that they can pack the court, and but that's never gonna pass. Wouldn't we
Not
need? How would
today.
that even work? Don't we need like a constitutional amendment for that?
Well, Yeah, but here's the thing: you degrade that institution over time. So they've been doing it for like 10 years now. It started with Harry Reid mostly, and Barack Obama. But that, I mean, it's right now the left has like no, they have no interest in conserving that court in its current structure with 9 members, and
Well,
it
the
doesn't.
left would also have you think that the right has been working on this for 50 years. Okay?
I mean, they
Because
have, but not like in a capacity that makes it like official. It's just 50 years ago something happened, and they said, "All right, well, we will just plan this long-term thing where we institutionalize uh, uh, originalism," and then it worked eventually. But the left won't do that. They won't commit to a long-term thing. They want to win now, and so they'll say, "Oh, these are the Supreme Court justices that are unethical," and they're always doing this. And then they say like, because this court's probably going to be the same throughout the Trump term. Like it's probably not gonna change. I don't think Alito's planning on leaving. Maybe he does. I don't know. But like this court hasn't ruled as a rubber stamp for Republicans or Democrats, and the Democrats refuse to acknowledge that.
no, they believe that it's been rubber stamped for Trump. They
Just,
they
I mean,
they
look at the
absolutely
tariffs,
believe
dude.
that.
Now, did they overturn other things like the Voting Rights Act stuff? Yes. When you go in there and actually read, like, oh, why can't I have a district that's just one race? If you ask these questions, it sounds crazy. It's like, of course they overturned it. Like, that's kind of crazy. But
But see, that's just it. Is they're not reading these opinions.
no.
They are just taking it from their viewpoint and trying to spin the actual without reading the opinion. They're just trying to say, oh, they're taking away voting rights and like all sort of stuff because it's not about the actual facts of the matter or the case. It's about their feelings. Like, and it just the left always tries to do everything from their feelings instead of through actual facts and evidence. Like we know that to be true. Like that's been the case for how many fucking years?
Well, they might be actually, if they did read any of these things, they might actually be embarrassed by Ketanji Brown Jackson's writing in general. So maybe it's better that they don't because it's been pretty sad this last cycle. Um,
Yeah, I mean, their other justices really aren't trying to help her.
I mean, you
they're,
have when
they're
you
letting
have
her like hang herself.
here's the thing is like sometimes these justices are like they're going to be like the mold for the next generation of lawyers, judges, people in law. And I fear that she will have that sort of impact from. I think she thinks she's doing that in the same way that Scalia was like the template for anybody who clerked for him. Although he was like serious person, she may be taken seriously even if I don't see it. So
Yeah, but even when Justice Sotomayor is like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" in some of these
yeah,
like
it's happened.
briefings, it's like, "Shut the fuck up!"
I
Like
mean,
I don't
there's
think they
like
respect her.
I certainly don't, but I also think like there's like a 5 minute clip out there of her just going, "I don't understand," or "Help me understand." It's like she really does like use these words that are like kind of like, "Oh, why don't you understand? What are you talking about?" Brad, I'm gonna go use the restroom really quick. Could you do you want to talk about some recent movies or anything? You want to tell the audience about Mortal Kombat 2?
Some recent movies. Yeah, should I go full spoilers?
Uh, for Mortal Kombat? Yeah, go ahead. I'm just gonna step away so I won't hear it anyway.
Oh, I won't go full spoilers. But I did get a chance to see Mortal Kombat. I believe that was 2 weeks ago, last week, something like that. And Mortal Kombat 2 was everything really that Mortal Kombat 1 should have been. Um, in the first one, they had a character that wasn't in the games come into the story and be the main character. And I think a lot of people really, really didn't like that. And so a lot of the feedback was around focusing the next movie on the actual characters from the game, and they did a fantastic job of focusing on the characters from the game and kind of relegating their new character from the first movie to the background. Um, Katana became like front and center through part of the movie, as well as Johnny Cage, and so they focused a lot on those characters, like similar to the first one. And it's actually interesting to see some of the callbacks and things like that they've done. It had some brutal fatalities in it, which were fantastic. Someone actually just recently pointed out that they had. I don't. Do you remember the friendship, like
Yeah,
fate? I don't, it's not a fatality. It was called a friendship.
yeah.
And they actually kind of do that in Mortal Kombat 2. So it would be funny to me, like for you, since you haven't seen it yet, to see what part you would think that comes in at. Um, because like they would say fatality and stuff like that when they're in the movie, but they're not going to say friendship like they would in the game. So it would be interesting if you could point out which part you think the friendship is. But good character development. I saw people were complaining about like Johnny Cage, where he's in the original Johnny Cage was like a mega movie star, and then in this one he's more of like just
Washed up.
older, yeah, washed up movie star. Um, and so they took a little bit different tact there. But the makeup that they did on Baraka was fucking unbelievable. The makeup and CGI that they did with Shao Kahn was fucking incredible. The guy that they had play Shao Kahn is huge, and he has his actual real voice is like really different, and like it's like how does a person even have a voice like that? And
Hmm.
then when you hear it with Shao Kahn, it's fantastic. It was like they really nailed the casting for that. And the fucking sets that they put on and the fights were just incredible. Like it definitely calls back to the games way more than the first one did. So this is what the first one should have been. Um, Unfortunately, like Goro died in the first one, so you didn't get to see Goro in that. Um, but you had some really good fight scenes, perfectly choreographed. I mean, it was awesome. It was gory. Like it wasn't as much blood and gore in the first one. This one's a little bit more because they actually showed a lot more fatalities and things. It was awesome. I actually do think you're really gonna like it. I know the first one
Cool.
you were like meh. This one I think you're actually gonna really enjoy it because there's a lot of Easter eggs in there.
Well, I was meh, but not like I didn't hate it. I actually thought it was a good start to something better, which you're telling me it was. So
Like, have you played any of the more modern Mortal Kombat games?
every single one.
Have you? Okay.
Yes.
Because I actually haven't. So, like, the character like Kenshi, like, don't even really know who that is. Because I actually have never been super heavy into like fighting games. I mean, the original Mortal Kombat's and Street Fighters and stuff like that were cool, but I kind of got out of a lot of that shit. I just got out of fighting games. They got especially a little too difficult with all the moves and like crazy shit. Um, but I do think you'll really enjoy this one way more than you enjoyed the first one.
Sweet. I guess I should mention that I watched Project Hail Mary finally, and you had asked, is that movie what everybody says it is, which is like just this perfect movie, and it totally was like a perfect movie. I won't spoil anything here, but that movie, the difference between that movie and The Martian, like same author, right? Andy Weir, who wrote both those books. They're both grounded in like a plausible reality, and the Martian is like kind of funny and fun to watch. It's kind of like an action movie in a way because it's
I
like
love that movie.
I love that movie too. and it's really cool, like how you're watching Matt Damon sort of like figure shit out, and it's like he's solving problems, and it's fun. And this movie, Project Hail Mary, isn't that at all. It's just these. Maybe I will spoil a little bit. Maybe I will spoil a little bit. The idea that like two different, the sun's dying. It's been infected by a virus. All suns are dying, and these two different civilizations from two different universes like show up at the same time to solve this problem because that's all they have. Like they both send their Hail Marys. It's such a unique concept, but I wasn't ready for. This is where it's different from The Martian. I wasn't ready for it to be as emotional as it was because the first hour is like this is how the book is too. I'm told that it flashes back to how Ryan Gosling got roped into all of this in the first place, and so throughout the movie you're getting flashbacks, and they're all meaningful flashbacks too. Like that's what's cool about it. But then like about halfway through the movie, it turns into this like incredibly emotional movie. Over and over, like 5 times, it just hits you with like these gut punches, and you're just like, "Oh fuck!" Like, because I don't know what's gonna happen. I didn't read the book. If you read the book, you're probably like, "It'll be okay." But like for me, I was like, "Is this all happening?" And it was just, God damn, is it so well done? And the special effects are incredible, and they did so much practical. Like, I'm pretty sure there's like a lot of puppetry, but there's like, it's all real. There's an effect in there that I thought was CGI, and I'm told it wasn't. It was done with like chicken wire or something, and I won't say what that was, but I mean, there's stuff in that movie that's like real. It's real, and I can't even tell the difference anymore. And I think Phil Lord and Chris Miller deserve a lot of credit for just because they did Into the Spider-Verse, which was good,
Right.
and 21 Jump Street's great, and the parts that they did in Solo before it was reshot by Ron Howard, like they kept some of that stuff in there, and it's probably the best stuff in that movie. It's actually not a bad movie, really.
I'm really interested to see Project Hail Mary, like that little rock. I don't want
Rocky.
to say, yeah, pet friend, whatever he's got going for him. I've seen some clips of the movie and stuff like that, and it definitely looks good. I've heard from pretty much everyone that's seen it, especially amongst our group chat, says it's fantastic. But one thing that you said about it is that you would never watch it again.
Oh, yeah.
So, do you mean that? And if you do, why? Why wouldn't you watch it again?
I probably wouldn't watch it again because I was so like I was an emotional wreck throughout the whole thing. Because Rocky reminded me of my own dogs, and when I could not get over that because the way Rocky acts is more like he acts like a dog. I mean, he's got a voice, it's character in the movie, but there's all these times where you're like freak. Rocky's acting like a dog would act. That's all I'm gonna say. And having seen my dogs sort of age and then pass away, it was like really the hardest thing, and so that's all I saw the
I
whole
got you.
time. And
That's
so
fair.
and it we were I was just like I was just holding back because it was like it's a movie that just goes like this, and it's just and the ending there's two endings. The flashback ending, which was completely shocking, like I did not see this coming at all, and it was crazy. And then also there's the other ending, which is him in how he gets out of this scenario, and god damn does it just works in a way that like I don't ever want to watch it again, but like it's because it made me so sad. It really did. It like affected me emotionally, and I'm like, movies do not do that to me. So yeah, five
Well, no,
stars.
that's an interesting take. Because like I said, I'm definitely looking forward to watching it.
I think if
Actually,
the way I kind of like I gave you the thought of like maybe you think about your own dogs, right? And like you might watch it knowing that, and it might completely change your perspective on the movie. I don't know. That's
no,
all I could get. I couldn't get over
it
it.
absolutely might. Again, from what I've seen from the clips, I think you're accurate in that description. So, definitely excited to watch that. Maybe I'll try to get into it tonight. I would have to purchase it, but that's okay because I buy a lot of movies anyway. But a lot of stuff just came out today, so everything comes out on Prime on Tuesdays. and a lot of stuff came out today. Normal came out with Bob Odenkirk, where he becomes like the sheriff of this town,
Oh,
um, and then finds out that they're, I don't know, smuggling drugs or something. It seems more like, it seems kind of like Nobody, like it's more of an action film since Bob Odenkirk has decided to spend the back half of his life being an action movie star, like out of nowhere, I guess, from comedian to Saul Goodman to action star, I guess. That's one story arc. Um, so that came out. Project Hail Mary just came out on Prime, even though it's still in theaters from what I've seen. But yeah, a lot of new stuff came out today on Prime. So
well, I've got some other quick hits here on my letterbox. I watched the drama with Zendaya and Robert Pattinson.
how was that?
Um, Not good. It turns out A24 does have a weakness, and it is the romantic genre. Whether it's this or The Materialists, I just think they haven't done that. And this movie has some weird shit in it, but it doesn't go far enough in either direction.
Yeah, Materialist was okay. It was okay. It wasn't great, but it was okay.
Another movie I watched is one with Amanda Seyfried. Do you remember like a few months ago they were talking about how like she had a prosthetic asshole? Do you remember this?
No.
This is the only reason I knew about this movie. I was like, what in what
What's
world
it
would you
called?
The Testament of Anne Lee? And I was like, it's
A fake asshole.
I was like, in what context, right? So I watched it, knowing nothing else but that. I guess it's based on like a probably a stage play. It's a musical, but it's all sad music and it's all like kind of preachy music. It was a terrible movie, and I don't know where this prosthetic asshole is in this movie actually. So like, I'm not even sure what they were talking about, but she's like a she's like a prophet who founds like a religious movement, and then they come to the new world and make like a compound, and it is like impossible to follow. Like it is so disjointed and terrible. um anyway, that's I wasted money on that movie.
Well, there's a new Anne Hathaway movie that just hit Prime too. It's like some psychosexual thriller called Mother May I or
Mary,
Mother
Mother
Mary,
Mary.
something like that.
I'm excited to watch that. I'll watch anything Anne Hathaway.
I I never even really heard that it was coming out. Like,
She,
especially Anne Hathaway, you know, especially with her doing Devil Wears Prada 2 and everything. Like, this movie just kind of exists.
I'm gonna hate watch Devil Wears Prada 2 because I love the first one so much, and I've heard just everything about that second one's terrible.
I see. I'll have to disagree, because I actually do think the first one is also interesting. It's not my favorite thing to watch, but Stanley Tucci in Devil Wears Prada 2 is
Mm.
actually pretty funny. Um, and I think he kind of ratchets it up a little bit from the first one to this one. I actually think he's funnier in this one than the first one. And Meryl Streep, like, you almost think that that bitchy attitude is like her actual attitude, um, because she plays that part super well. So I don't know. I thought it was fine. It's not gonna. I will say it's not as good as the first one was. But the story at least kind of like made sense, for the most part. So it wasn't like a negative story arc or anything like that. I think you'll like it. I don't think it's gonna make your top 15 movies of the year, but I think you'll like it.
I think the first one, I it holds a special place because it taught me something that I didn't really know anything about, which was fashion and how you see these models on the runway and they're wearing absurd shit, and you're like, that's bizarre. Like, what is that? And then in the movie, she explains like, I don't think you understand. Like, we do that, and then you end up wearing it like a year later in a different version, and how the iteration of fashion works was just like something I never knew anything about. Um, and I am obviously a very fashionable person, so why would I not know?
So get
Um,
this, you know, I do the popcorn buckets, so they had a Devil Wear Prada 2 popcorn bucket, but apparently AMC only sent the theater that I went to 10 of these buckets, and they're purses, like they look like a purse.
Mhm.
And so, my wife wanted one, and they were like, oh, they only sent us 10, so we're sold out. Luckily, I was able to find it online at Cinemark because Cinemark actually sells a bunch of these popcorn buckets on their website, and I
Didn't
was
know.
able to purchase it for her that way. But true to Cinemark style, because I ordered my Art to Clown popcorn bucket from there.
I
It
did
takes like
too.
6 months for you to fucking get it, dude.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that. Yeah, I remember that now. We both got it, and we're like, is this ever gonna come?
Yeah, I thought it was fake at first, but it's real. And so this bucket, I guess, ships, I don't know, in fucking August or something weird.
I don't
And the
know.
movie's
Anything
already
gets
out.
done.
So,
Maybe they time it for the digital release or something.
who
I
knows? But Mortal Kombat had, unfortunately, I didn't get the Shao Kahn bucket that I wanted. I got a Shao Kahn bucket. But Regal, which there's not one within like 100 miles of my house, had a Shao Kahn popcorn bucket where the Shao Kahn head actually clips onto the bucket and you peel open the head and you can eat out of it. But the one that I got sits on top of the bucket and you have to like take it off to eat
ah,
out of the bucket. So it's not as good as the one from Regal, but I don't have access to a Regal to go and get one.
the popcorn
Um,
bucket thing continues to be painful. Like last year, there was the Mission Impossible one, and it was so cool. But like, I'm never gonna be able to find that anywhere. And if they don't sell them online, I won't ever.
I
Oh,
have one.
dang
Our
it!
mutual friend of ours, who also happens to live in California, bought one for me, and I have not received it yet. So
Oh boy. Well, you may get it if he's willing to take it on the plane.
it's true.
You may recommend him do that.
That or
Um,
mail it to me. Now I'd be afraid he'd break it, to be honest, if he if he takes it on the plane.
I don't know that I trust him to do that.
But that one I
Um,
want because you got to turn the keys and everything to open it.
it's really cool. I have one other movie I want to not recommend. Wuthering Heights was supposed to be like this. I'm told from the advertising this like hypersexual like whatever. It's not, and it was garbage. Don't ever watch it. I have seen so many bad movies lately. Ugh.
What's funny because that book is like 150 years old or some weird shit.
I know
Um,
I know people who read like old books like that. I've asked everybody, all of them, if that book is any good, and they all say no. So I don't think it was ever good
well, it's just considered a classic, I guess.
because it's old, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't watched it yet. It is on HBO. Am I going to watch it? I don't know. I think it's like fucking 3 hours long. I don't know that
It
I can
feels like 8 hours long.
I can sit through a 3 hour long movie, but one like that, I don't know.
You compare that to Project Hail Mary, which is like 3 hours long, and it's like one of them just moves, and the other
Yeah,
one,
I told my wife we could maybe watch Wuthering Heights if she wants to, because she's into like what I call British fuck TV, which is Bridgerton. So
that's not what this is.
I was like, it might be the same thing. I don't know.
It's not. Like I could be down for that too. I might go for that if it was, but it's not. It's actually very very lame. I was
Yeah, I
I
don't
was
know.
sold a bill of goods, Brad. You know what? I should also mention there I have seen every Stanley Kubrick film, my favorite director. I was not aware that I always thought Lolita was out of print, but it wasn't. I was able to actually track down a copy on Blu-ray, and I did rewatch that movie a couple weeks ago, and it's pretty good.
Nice,
Pretty good movie. I don't
nice.
think it's not like the source material is obviously like much darker than the movie. It's the movie's more of a comedy actually. Um, but I thought it was pretty good still. Kind of holds up.
Well, I got my tickets for next week to go see the back rooms.
Ah,
So I got the early access tickets for that. I'm interested to see. Um, they
have
probably
you?
won't have a popcorn bucket.
Are they?
Although
Have you
it'd be
gone?
funny. Be funny if they did.
Brad, have you gone? Have you played the game?
I have not. Mm-mm.
I think you ought to.
I'll be honest with you. I didn't really know much about the back rooms. We had talked about it briefly in our chat and stuff like that, and then I started doing a little bit more of a deep dive on it. But there's a bunch of games. There's a couple like movies and stuff like that. I mean, the one kid that Kane Parsons, who ended up directing this one, directed the original YouTube film, which I think has like a billion views or some shit like that online.
It's really good.
It's crazy. So maybe I should watch that. What's it, like a half hour long?
I think you should, yes, watch that. I think you should try some of these games. The theme is Dreamcore. That's what they call it. The kids probably call it that. I think you should investigate some of this before you see that movie because it might help you appreciate it more. Just how, like, what makes it so eerie. I mean, we're calling it a horror movie, basically, maybe a thriller, but you should probably learn to appreciate why that is before you see
Yeah,
it.
I'm looking forward to it. I should probably do a little bit more of a deep dive on it before I go see it. So we'll see if I have time to do that. It's Memorial Day weekend, so I might have some extra time in there. I was thinking of going to see that movie, The Passenger. It's a horror movie. I don't know if you've seen the trailer for that
I
one.
have, yeah.
It looks decent. I mean, just because I'm a member, an A-list member, like I can go see it for free, so like might as well, if I have time to do so, because it looks decent. But we'll see how that plays out. But I'm definitely gonna dig into the backroom stuff because like it's exciting. I do see a lot of like videos on it on like TikTok and stuff like that for the backrooms, especially because I was like talking about it a lot. So of course, when you start talking about it, all the shit that comes through your feed is that. So I was just seeing constant backrooms videos on TikTok and shit. But it drew me in. Like I was very interested in a lot of these videos. So people are doing like backrooms timelines and things like that because there's multiple videos of it now and different parts of the back rooms that people are using for whatever purpose. So I'm interested to see because I'm sure they delve into a lot more of that in like the video games and stuff.
Yeah, it's a very compelling theme. I should mention two other things. One is that the Mandalorian Grogu, I've named myself Grogu today, is coming out and is getting pretty panned, and I think this is good. I think
Well, I think everyone's tired of Pedro Pascal.
I think everyone's
Can we just
tired
be
of
done?
Star Wars too, and I'm just Brad. I am going to be an anarchist on this topic and just say I would love to see Star Wars finally die its
Same.
death because I am so sick of the shit.
So I have a question that you might know the answer to because I assume you've watched The Mandalorian.
I watched the first season.
So what is the deal with him carrying this little Yoda around? Like, why? One, I assume it's not actually Yoda.
No,
But two, like, why does he do that? Like, what's the point of him carrying this little baby Yoda thing around?
Brad, I don't know if anybody knows that answer.
So
I don't know.
they're just together and like
Yeah,
hang out together.
They just hang out together. They're just going around.
So there's
It's
no reason why he's carrying this thing around.
if there is, I don't know what it is. To me, I think that it was like an interesting idea. Or they're like, oh, he's stuck with this baby and he's trying to figure out what the fuck it is there for. And then I checked out. I was like, this is where that's pretty much where I was like done with this whole
So
enterprise.
wait, he was trying to figure out why he was stuck with this baby?
He didn't know what the baby was for. Luke Skywalker shows up at some point and says, "You gotta watch this baby. You gotta make sure that baby stays safe." That's it.
That sounds fucking stupid.
Stupid. Also, okay. I have a closing topic though. Oh, I have a show and tell, by the way. My new head
Ooh.
cover from Japan for my golf club.
Nice.
The
Very nice.
golf head just sticks up Sonic's ass.
As it should.
Disclosure Day comes out in about 3 weeks, and I went on that Department of War website and watched all those videos and read all those documents. And I came to the conclusion that I have finally been convinced that there is some sort of extraterrestrial life that is somewhere on this planet.
So what did it for you? What was the final straw that you were kind of like, oh yeah, there's definitely life?
The image from the surface of the moon on, I think, Apollo 12, there is an image that if you look at it just without any of the visual enhancements, it just looks like darkness. Um, and then they zoomed in on various sources of light in the distance, and there's one that is a silver looking thing with a blue line and a red circle in the middle. And I I don't know what to make of that. It's just there. And the other one was there was a video of one of these things, and it was super high resolution. And the way it moved, it didn't look like a drone because drones kind of tilt when they're moving. And this just kind of hovered, kind of like this. It doesn't look like anything I've ever seen before. And in both instances, I was convinced because they were kept from the public for so long. The one on the moon, why did they keep that locked away for 50 years?
Question for you.
Yeah.
What if this whole thing is just one giant fucking propaganda psyop to make people go see this stupid fucking movie that's coming out?
I fell for
If
it.
it's one giant ad.
I've fallen for it now.
and you are now all in
Yeah.
on Aliens, and then after the movie comes out, when it's a fucking box office flop, we're gonna find out that this whole thing was propaganda for the movie.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do with yourself then when you were like, I'm so invested in it, this is real, just to find out that it was one giant fucking ad for Hollywood movies?
That would be hilarious. I would not be the first person to fall for something like this. No, really, what?
And you will
what
never live it down. You will
No.
never live it down. I will not let you forget it.
I shouldn't live it down if that's the case. I do want to mention that I read about 15 or 20 of these documents that were never allowed to be public for 50 years, and the through line is so compelling because in 1949, all over the world, from all different kinds of people, islands, Alaska, Nebraska, all these different places, they all observed the same sorts of things in the sky at the same exact time. And to me, that combined with the fact that they kept it just buried away, they just scanned them and put them on the internet. It just, that's the kind of evidence I've always wanted, because when people say like, "Oh, you know there's aliens, right?" and I go like, "Okay, fuck off. Like, you know as much as I do, which is nothing. You just believe it." I have things that I read now, and I feel much more convinced about the whole thing.
I think for me, it didn't really need convincing, right? Because it's just a statistic improbability that aliens don't exist. Whether or not they were here on Earth already or anything like that is irrelevant. But the statistics of it's near an impossibility, actually, that we are the only living life forms in the entire universe, galaxy, so on, so forth. Like, it's like they find water on Mars. Like, that's an indication that there probably could have been life before. Anything. There's a whole number of things. Like, remember when they found that like face looking thing on fucking Mars? Like, it just, I don't know. The universe itself is so vast, and now scientists are talking about like we could be running concurrent dimensions and like fucking mirror worlds and all this other kind of shit that, who fucking knows what else is gonna come. Like, if aliens is like the least worst, that's probably why they're releasing the information, because like, oh, this is the least of the worst information we could release that like, could break people's brains. Like, let's do that. And so we're just gonna see a slow leak of shit. Where now we're gonna like, there's a theory out there where you never actually die. It's like when you die, your consciousness just slips into another timeline
I do
that
feel
you're
that.
on.
I feel that way. I haven't heard it. I haven't put it articulated quite that way, but that there are times where I'm driving my car and I have like a near miss, and in my mind I go, "Did I just hit that car?" But I kept
Right.
going in my own
Right.
consciousness.
So like you in one world you hit that car and you died, and then you slipped into another timeline where you didn't hit that car.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what it is. Like there's all these like weird theories out there, dude. Like there's a theory that really nothing exists until your eyes see it, right? So it's
Mm.
like almost nothing in front of you was real until you saw it.
Like
Like
Schrodinger's cat,
kind of,
maybe.
yeah. Like it doesn't even like populate on the plane of existence until your eyes see it. Like it's almost like rendering in front of your eyes, right? Um, so
I
I
mean,
don't
that's why
know.
string theory is so compelling to me because if you read about that, it would it would lead you to believe that that's a possibility because it's just loops and things and like strings that are matter but they vibrate and it's hard to explain but
I think almost everything's like a possibility. I've seen theories where, and this one's kind of out there, is that like Saturn is essentially this like Death Star hub, right? And it bounces some kind of like signal off the moon, which is what keeps like people on Earth almost like a prison. I don't know. I see all kinds of weird shit that pops up now that this whole alien thing has happened. Like people
we'll
are
see.
just coming up with all kinds of crazy shit.
People come up with kinds of crazy shit and I don't buy it. It's all ridiculous to me, right? But that's where I found that moon image to be actually kind of terrifying because there are these things in the distance of the moon and they're observing. I don't know if all of them are observing. There's five lights, but one of them is obviously a thing, and it's there.
I do find it very entertaining and interesting that on these Apollo missions they were seeing this kind of stuff. And so
And they
yeah, you're
reported
right.
it.
Like
They're like, "Oh, it's a bogey right there."
right,
There's what?
and even like the transcripts between them and NASA were basically like, nope, we're gonna scrub that, and like you can't have that in there, and shit. And like I do find the whole thing to be pretty interesting, but where will it go from here? Like what's going to change? Probably nothing. We're all gonna keep going and chugging along on the path that we're on, and come whatever may. So
Well, just because we're like bullshitting about it, and there's one person out there who I know is really invested in it. Like, it is fun to talk about because the videos they released were up into December 2025. I mean, there's stuff on there that's just recent, but like the fact that it all happened like kind of right after the atom bomb, pretty interesting.
well, there's been that theory really was that aliens came here to basically like observe us because of the atom bomb, to essentially see that like we were an experiment. Like they're starting to believe that human life basically came here from like an asteroid that killed the dinosaurs, where that asteroid is what actually gave the properties of human life to the environment to produce, right? So there's the theory there that we technically are the aliens here on Earth. And who knows, maybe that's where we're going, right? Like, probably not in our lifetime, but in subsequent timelines that we slip to. Maybe we develop interstellar travel and all this other shit and end up pulling an interstellar, right? Where, spoiler alert, it's not aliens telling us, it's ourselves in the future telling us how to leave Earth and like all this other shit. Maybe that happens. Maybe there was shreds of truth to Interstellar in that regard, where we are the the aliens here, and we're teaching ourselves how to propagate interstellar travel and shit. So who knows where that goes?
It's fun because I'm not the main character of this theory, right? Like
No,
I'm just like here. I live. I have a life, and so yeah, I just think
I think
I
it's
don't
it's
know.
interesting because what if any of this was true? What if um, our minds? What if our consciousness slips to another timeline when we die? What if um,
I
all
had
of
that
these
theory
things are
before
true?
we even talked about this. I was
Right,
thinking about that.
but
Like, have you ever had turbulence on an airplane? I mean,
yes.
it's like, did I fall out of the sky?
But what if that does become true? How does that fundamentally alter the way people see things and act towards things? That essentially you never die. You just, move to another timeline. Like, how does that change the life that you live? I think is the biggest question, right? Like, do
Well,
you just say fuck it and like keep living your life normally? Like, what do you change about yourself
it's
if
not
you find
provable,
these things
right?
out? What's
Like,
that?
it's like saying what happens when you die. It's like,
Right.
well, do you want to get to the point where you're gonna die? What if you fuck
What
that
about
up?
these? What about these people who have died and then were brought back to life, and they talk about the things that they've seen on the other side of things, right? Like,
Are
what
they
happens
real?
then? Like, your consciousness didn't slip into the next timeline; it was brought back here. Maybe that's what the light is. At in the tunnel is like you're heading towards your next consciousness, and then you're zapped back, and you're like, "Fuck," because now you're like,
Yeah.
"Fuck."
And those people that had that moment, they tell you the story. You only read about it. You've never met the person.
Correct.
Who's is that real? I don't know.
Who knows, man? I think at least releasing one thing that releasing all these documents is really going to do is fuck up alien movies because now like we know that there's shit out there, right? So like it's really going to fuck shit up, I think. But there's going to be people are going to go through these fucking documents and they're going to create movies about this kind of shit based off of what they've seen. They already started doing that shit with what was it, like Apollo 17 it was called or something like that. It was like a fucking horror movie on the moon. Like I mean we're gonna see all kinds of shit come out from this, but it was only a matter of time. So
I think I just, as somebody who doesn't believe in any conspiracy theories, I don't believe hearsay or what people think. When they have these grand theories of the universe, I'm always like, okay, enjoy. Um, but I got to read it for myself, and that's where I'm more compelled now than ever before.
yeah, they say seeing is believing, so
It works for me.
now you're a believer, I guess. So X-Files was right.
I'm glad we touched on that before we ended. I think yeah, I can't wait for the next dump. All right, Brad, we've been going for a little bit.
All right, buddy. Yeah, it was a good one. We got to do this more often.
We should start a podcast, Brad.
Yeah, we should podcast about how often we should do our podcast.
Hey, this is pretty good. We did good.
Yeah, we touched a lot of different topics today, so let's keep it moving.
Namaste, sir.
Have a good one, buddy.